Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have the brand new, just released within the last couple of weeks on the new tools page of Harbor Freight's website, Predator 30-ton log splitter. This is definitely an upgrade to the 20-ton log splitter that I already own. That's a fantastic log splitter. There's a few things that they added onto this machine besides just the increase in power of being a 30-ton log splitter. And we'll talk about a few of those things, but this is just an initial review. I intend to make another video where I compare the two machines, kind of tell you maybe which one might be better for different kinds of people, which one might be best for you. And then obviously, you know, kind of the bread and butter of my channel is long-term reviews of no torture tests or anything like that, just average Joe everyday. Well, definitely not everyday use, but regular use from someone who's basically, you know, doing the whole rural living thing. We're gonna bring in, I'm just gonna talk about some of the different components, some of the features of this thing, and then you'll see some log splitting footage. And I hope you enjoy it. So if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure you click subscribe. So we'll just start right here with the powerhouse of the log splitter. It is the Predator 212cc engine. This is an extremely common engine. It comes in at 6.5 horsepower. Back to the commonality thing. This engine is put on so many different pieces of Harbor Freight equipment, and then a ton of people purchase these things and repower stuff with them. They build things with using them, go-karts, all kinds of stuff. These are really known to be extremely reliable engines, and I have somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 different Predator engines floating around my property here. This may be number 9, and I have had 0 issues with any of them. They're all very reliable, excellent machines. I have had, honestly, 0 problems with over the years. Moving on to the back of the log splitter here. This is your hydraulic tank. It is pretty much the main support piece, the main frame. Besides the hitch bar that goes up to the front that supports this whole thing. Not a whole lot to talk about here. This is where your wheels mount up. It does include a sight glass so you can see the hydraulic fluid in the tank and make sure that you've got enough fluid in there. A little cap here on top that comes thread taped, nice for assembly. Then you have these pretty sturdy fenders here on the side. I've actually found myself resting some wood on it that I plan to split extra. Definitely well built, intended to be moved a lot, which around my property it won't be moved a whole lot. So definitely nice to have the wheels. Of course, that's nothing special. That's pretty typical on most of your similar sized log splitters as well. All right, a few components over here I want to talk about. They have a Butcher hydraulic pump back here. The brand Butcher, I mean, I'm not a hydraulic pump person. I don't have a lot to say. I know that I did have a very small issue with a seal on the Butcher hydraulic pump that came on the Predator 20-ton. I've been using this machine. I have absolutely no issues with leaks or anything like that on here. And I was able to very easily fix the leak on the other pump. It was just a pinch seal on assembly. So in my experience, you know, you can find parts, you can find, it was a little bit challenging, but you can even find diagrams for these hydraulic pumps on the internet. Standard return hose, and then the hydraulic lines, they do have these completely wrapped in this protective wrap, which I really appreciate. I think one of the hoses on the 20-ton was missing a wrap that I had to go ahead and install myself. These ones came wrapped. They did a good job. They're completely covering the hose, and I appreciate that they put those on there. That should be standard on pretty much any pieces of equipment like this. And the last thing is on this is an upgrade over the 20-ton log splitter. There's no filter for the hydraulic fluid, and it is nice to see that they have a filter for the hydraulic fluid here. That should be pretty standard on these pieces of equipment. Not that I think that there's something wrong with the 20-ton with that. That's something you can easily adapt yourself. Definitely a good idea to include these, you know, with the manufacturers, and then of course, you know, putting them on after the fact if you don't have one. So nice to see Harbor Freight included that on this one. Okay, the next thing to talk about would be the hydraulic control valve. As far as the valve itself, I see no branding. I'm not, like I said, I'm not super familiar. Lots of hydraulic components or anything like that. Couldn't tell you if this is a great valve that they assembled this thing with or not. But what I can tell you is that you do push it forward to extend that hydraulic ram out. And then very commonly with other log splitters, when you go in reverse, there is a detent somewhere in here that holds it there. And then once the ram has come all the way back, it knocks the control handle forward on its own. And then of course the hoses are wrapped all the way up to the fittings on the hydraulic hoses. You have the option to split either horizontally and then, yes, vertically as well. So you just pull a pin out up here on top I'm not sure if it's in shot, but you can run the hydraulic ram vertically, and then of course quite easily return it back to the horizontal position. You don't even have to pull the handle of the pin. It will lock itself in simply on its own through the design, which is a nice feature as well. Another common thing, but a nice feature on, many of the comparable log splitters, have some safety chains already installed onto it and a 2-inch ball attachment. So like I said, you can go ahead and run this thing around the property anywhere you need to. And then, as you can see here, it also comes with a jack installed that folds up. Nice folding foot already installed on it that folds out of the way, because clearly you have to have that thing out, unless of course you're attached to a ball here in order to really be able to use the machine. So this is the splitting head. It actually looks pretty similar to the one on the 20 ton. Of course, the 20 ton is double-sided. It splits both ways. So I thought that was interesting that these splitting heads look pretty similar. And then also the log catches here. So these log catches, you have a slightly larger one here, because obviously the machine is intended to be worked from this side with the smaller catch. The smaller catch is just going to kind of help keep it in place, where the larger catch gives you a little bit of room to store some pieces on that maybe you want to come back and split again. So obviously this is, like I said, this is kind of the area that you want it's designed to be operated from. And then very typical again with other log splitters, but they include these little pieces of material that grip onto the log and keep the log in place when you're splitting. Very common. All right, on to a little bit of splitting action here. I want to apologize for not having any sound. I'm not sure what happened to the audio, but there is none with these clips. But what I just want to point out is just some of the wood that we're splitting here. So this is a big log, but it's a very dried out, well-seasoned piece of pine that I cut within the last season or two. This piece here is a piece of American elm, but it's pretty short, and it's very well seasoned too. I cut this almost 3 years ago, and it's not going to, let me just put this out there, nothing that I'm going to be splitting here is going to be impressive or challenging to a 30-ton log splitter. All the wood that I have is well seasoned. Most of what you're going to see here is splitting softwoods that really are not that hard to split manually as they are. And then this piece here that you're watching is a piece of Siberian elm, and that is the most difficult piece of wood that we have here to split. Siberian elm and shaggy bark juniper are challenging to split, and the fact that this piece didn't split in the very first time was pretty much all operator error, and just the fact that it's a big knotted up twisted piece of wood that made it a little bit more challenging. But the power that this machine has was not at all the issue. But yeah, so mostly just softwoods here, ponderosa pine, Douglas fir. That's the vast majority of what I have. A little bit of aspen mixed in there, and maybe a few pieces of blue spruce. But for the most part, ponderosa pine and Doug fir is the main stuff that's being split here. And even a big, wet, fresh, huge round is likely not going to be a challenge for a 30-ton like this, because the 20-ton log splitter that I have from Harbor Freight very easily split some, probably like right around 18 to 28 inch ponderosa pine rounds, and those were absolutely no trouble for the 20-ton either. So its splitting abilities in terms of the challenge that the wood is for this log splitter is pretty minimal, and there's not a whole lot that I could throw at it that would really challenge it like you guys have in other parts of the country. All right, so this should pretty much cover my, not very in-depth initial review on this thing. My future reviews, when I get to know the machine better and I have a lot more to say, a lot more to comment on. One thing I probably should have mentioned with the hydraulic tank is it takes 19 liters, which is pretty much 5 gallons of ISO 32 hydraulic fluid. And you're going to need pretty much the entire 5-gallon bucket in order to fill up the hydraulic tank. But other than that, specs and stuff, it's all there on Harbor Freight's website if you're really interested. And I'll include that in the more in-depth, long-term review, where this is just kind of more of an overview of just letting you know my initial impressions and just kind of giving you a look around this brand new tool from Harbor Freight. So thanks everybody again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. And again, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and click subscribe. Get more rural living related content just like this.